Is Texas truly back? Is it the end of a dynasty at Michigan? Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Please like and subscribe to the video. Let's break it down between the two biggest brands on one field in week 2. By far the game that gained the most national attention, but however, many believed it not to be necessarily the best game, and that's the way it played out. Once the two teams hit the field, we found out quickly what Week 1 gave us an indication too, that Texas is a complete team. Michigan's a defense and a running back room and a tight end. And that's what Michigan is. And those components didn't even play their best game when they needed to carry the weaknesses, i.e. quarterback and wide receiver play at Michigan, and also that offensive line. From the get-go, Texas took control of the game. They were by far the better team. They could move against the Michigan defense. And of course, this was something that was the big fear concerning Michigan. They would have to play a stalemate kind of game, a rock fight in a phone booth and win it somehow 17-13, get the turnovers, be the better team on special teams, and let that elite defense, or what was an elite defense in 2023, now the jury's out. It's a good defense. Is it elite? Is Texas really that good? Well, this is how it started. Quinn Ewers on a 3rd and 13 to Isaiah Bond to the Michigan 38. Wow. That was a threading the needle play in which Bond beat Jair Hill down the field, and Makari Page was late, but still Michigan played decent defense on the play. But this was the story of the game when Texas had the football. They were just executing to perfection, and Quinn Ewers looked like the best quarterback in college football. In the pass protection, tremendous. And of course, that was a key coming into this game. Could Michigan's great secondary keep up with this outstanding young, talented Texas? And would the Texas offensive line, maybe the best in college football, be able to keep Quinn Ewers upright and surveying the field? And for the most part, they did just that. Wink Martindale brought the heat from the first drive on, and with mixed results, because Quinn Ewers many times would avoid it, or the offensive line just was that good in protecting Ewers, and he can navigate the pocket. He's become a proficient quarterback. In addition to the arm talent, he's become a guy that makes the right decisions and is aware of his surroundings and has an instinct for the game. Ewers broke open and broke contain on a 3rd and 7. He juked Jayshon Barham, which is not easy to do in the open field, on a 3rd and 7, and converted. Texas was giving a ton of work to Jaden Blue, who of course was C.J. Baxter, the former 5-star, out. It has been known since the last couple of weeks of August camp that Texas had a thin running back room, and Jaden Blue would have to shoulder most of the load. He did 9 carries for 22 yards, 6 carries or 6 receptions for 37 yards. So he didn't damage the Michigan defense, but he was just good enough to play off of the passing game and keep the Michigan defense honest. Cam Williams, he was the weak link along the Texas offensive line, but I hate to call him that. He just suffered a lot of penalties. At last count, it was 4. He had a hold on what would have been a touchdown play that negated a Ewers touchdown. That was just a tremendous play by both Ewers and the receiver. But Williams held Rayshon Benny. That bailed out Michigan, and it was a missed field goal. So at that point, Texas drives down the field in the first drive. They miss the field goal. They score the touchdown, the would-be touchdown. The holding play calls it back. And maybe some Michigan fans and other people, like myself, I would have to admit, thought, maybe this is just going to be Michigan's day. Maybe it's one of these days where they get outgained 2-1, but they make the key plays. Texas shoots themselves in the foot, and Michigan escapes with a victory. So we had no score at that point. But the very next Texas series, after Michigan goes 3 and out, Ewers moves up in the pocket. That was an excellent play that an NFL quarterback would make. He, again, very aware of the pocket presence. Gunnar Helm, who had a huge day for Texas, finds the opening in the back of the end zone. Texas led at 7-0. Excellent catch by Helm. Finally, after 2 or 3 series, Michigan makes a play. Davis Warren on the flea flicker. They needed to do something different to loosen up the Texas defense, and they go downfield for 22 yards on that play. And then Donovan Edwards finally gets loose into the open field. It was a beautifully conceived running play with a lot of confusion with motion and guys crissing and crossing. And the Texas defense was confused. However, what I took away from that play, even though it was a big play for Michigan gaining 8 or 10 or 12 yards, is that Michael Taft, the safety for Texas, came up and made an open field tackle that was excellent. Otherwise, Donovan Edwards might have been off to the races and Michigan might have actually scored a touchdown in the first half. Then Michigan needing to convert 3rd and 3. Alex Orji brought into the game. Okay, I get it. You got 2 quarterbacks. You got your passing quarterback, who's the number 1 quarterback, and then you've got Alex Orji, who looked like he was going to be the starting quarterback until about a week or 2 left in August camp, and now you bring him in just to make him feel good, He's an excellent athlete. He's a tough runner. He's a big framed guy. He's difficult to bring down. But against a defense like this, and when there is no motion, no effort by the play call to move the Texas guys out of position on a 3rd and 3, and Alex Orji just takes the snap and basically runs a wildcat play and gets stuffed. Not a good play call when Davis Warren had just hit a shot downfield. Let him convert 3rd and 3. Easy to say in hindsight, but I was saying it in the moment right there. That should have been a play for Davis Warren to stay in the ball game, convert it, and keep going. Next series for Michigan, Davis Warren flushed out of the pocket, doesn't throw well on the run, tried to throw it back across the field to a certain extent, threw it into traffic, and Andrew Makuba, the Clemson transfer at safety, excellent addition to this Texas defense, picked it off, took it to the Michigan 37. Warren on the next drive, he missed a wide open Samaj Morgan. That would have been a 30-plus yard gainer. I don't know what Michigan's going to do at quarterback because Davis Warren was pretty bad in the first half, but there were optimistic, hopeful indicators in the second half that Davis Warren, with some more work, could be a capable quarterback this year. Colston Loveland, when your best player on offense makes a completely boneheaded play, and it wasn't a stupid mental play. It was just that he caught the football over the middle. He was carrying it like a loaf of bread. Maybe he was intending on tucking the ball away, but he knocked it out with his other hand. And so there's a unforced fumble against Michigan. And so Texas gets a freebie right there, and that's the last thing that Michigan needed to do. Jahdae Barron picks it up for Texas, and they're on the plus 50 right there. Couple plays later, after they continue to march down the field, you've got the touchdown scored on the previous drive by Jarrett Gibson. It was a lot of Jaden Blue for Texas early in the game, and then they got Jarrett Gibson involved, and he was the featured back on the series that made it 17-3 as he scored the touchdown. And then after the Colston Loveland unforced fumble, then we've got Ewers hitting Matthew Golden, another transfer wide receiver, filling in for those guys that moved on to the NFL last year. He kind of pushed off on the play as he was being guarded by Amir Hall. However, it wasn't obvious. I don't think it was a missed call necessarily, but it was good work by the wide receiver to shield the defender. Hill kind of push off, go to the pylon, catch the touchdown, and Texas led at the half 24-3, game, set, match. If Michigan would have had the J.J. McCarthy offense of last year, even though it was not considered explosive, I don't say game, set, match at 24-3 at halftime. But against this offense, that's what it was. We go to the second half. This 3rd and 4 situation between Davis Warren and Samaj Morgan probably just defined what we saw time after time in this offense, that they've taken for granted J.J. McCarthy and his receivers being on the same page, and that's something that you build by taking what you learn in practice and that chemistry that's formed between quarterback and wide receiver. Then you take it to the field on Saturday, and they just don't have it between Davis Warren and the wide receivers. And maybe because of the level of talent or lack thereof, that it never gets developed to the degree that it needs to win championships and win big games. It was a 3rd and 4. Morgan saw the coverage inside. He shaded to the outside. Warren either missed the throw or missed the coverage. I got to think he missed the throw. He threw it inside. Morgan still should have caught the ball, but he had to dive for it. It was right in the breadbasket after he dove for the football. there's a misconnection on a 3rd and 4, and that's what Michigan lacked in this ball game compared to Ewers and his wide receivers. Forget the NFL pedigree of a Quinn Ewers and what we're going to see probably out of him in the next 10 or 15 years as a pro versus Davis Warren. It's also just knowing how to run the offense and how to find the open spots and where to put the football. And I think Davis Warren has the ability to make that throw on 3rd and 4. Again, whether he didn't see it or that's a throw that he makes about half the time, when a Quinn Ewers makes it 9 out of 10 times, again, just a misconnection and a easy comparison to make between the two passing offenses in a situation like that. Michigan driving the football the next series, again, on a 3rd and 5. Key possession, they're still only down 24-3 at this point, or actually a 24-6 after the field goal, but they, of course, needed touchdowns at this point. They bring in Orji again on a 3rd and 5. Same basic play as the previous time. Maybe a little bit of different in terms of the blocking scheme, but basically the same play, the Wildcat, and he gets stuffed again. I don't get it. All right. Texas right back down the field. And what's concerning for the Michigan team, in addition to the offensive woes, is that it's not what we may have thought it to be if you would have said, okay, Texas wins this game 31-12. Okay, the Michigan defense held the entire game and played a stalemate with the Texas offense and maybe only gave up 1 touchdown in the first half, maybe 2, maybe it was 14 points given up at half, and then it was a close game into the 4th quarter, and then they just couldn't hold anymore and the dam broke and that was it. One of those type situations when you see teams with a great defense and a poor offense. But in this one, Texas was driving the ball pretty much at will from the first drive of the game. So this is concerning. Texas on another drive, they're up 24-6. They take it inside the 5-yard line. This didn't affect the ball game, but Cameron Brandt, when there was a missed exchange, maybe there was a miscommunication between Ewers and the back, he had to eat the football, he downed it, he took a knee. And I understand if a defensive lineman's not used to seeing that, not used to seeing a quarterback who has space, who can run, just take a knee, and he bumped into him. Now, it should have been called a late hit. It was a little bit more than a bump by Cameron Brandt. It was not called. That led to a skirmish. You got to think Michigan's awfully frustrated at this point. And then Texas goes right back to work after that. It was offsetting penalties, by the way, after the skirmish, because that's all the officials could do because they missed the initial hit that Michigan took on Ewers. Ryan Wingo, the speedster, he ran a few end arounds, few jet sweeps. One was an end around, one was more the jet sweep with the pitch. And he gets it down near the goal line, and then Jaden Blue takes a swing pass in which the Michigan defense on the left side was completely out of position. Blue jets out. They throw the ball to him in the left flat. It wasn't even in the flat. It was still behind the line of scrimmage, and the Michigan defense was nowhere to be found. And we've got a 31-6 ball game. Next Michigan series, we got a miscommunication between Davis Warren and Colston Loveland. Loveland still has his back to Warren. Warren thinks he's going to turn around and square up on the curl. Loveland still has his back to him. Interception, Michigan. And that's pretty much the ball game, and that's what it was for the rest of the day. Now, there were a couple series there in the 4th quarter, not just the touchdown series in which Michigan closed it to 31-12, but Davis Warren, did you see the throw that he made on a 4th and 4 where he was basically falling on his rear end and threw a seed that was perfect, threaded the needle right past the defender, downfield, and I thought, wow, that's an elite throw. And then he hit one down the seam and he looked sharp. I don't know what the deal is with Davis Warren in regards to, he obviously has talent. He's the starting quarterback at Michigan, to some degree has talent. But whether with more work, although he's been on campus for quite some time working with some receivers, whether it's these guys or the previous group, this is just not going to cut it if Michigan wants to contend in the Big Ten and obviously get to a playoff. Again, the concerning thing on the defensive side is that it wasn't as though they were up to the challenge against the Texas offense from the beginning and then wilted. No, they wilted from the start. They were getting shredded from the start. Quinn Ewers, of course, has been in this stadium before, arriving with the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2021. And so he gets his personal revenge. Of course, he's no longer with the Buckeyes, and Ohio State will have to take care of business if they can against Michigan. That's a long, long ways away. But they showed and talked about that during the game, and it's been talked about this week because Quinn Ewers actually has talked about that himself, that he is looking at this as a revenge game of sorts, even though he's playing with a different team. So we got a 31-12 final. It was not a good football game. It was interesting if you're really trying to size up the best teams in the country to analyze the Texas offense, in particular in the offensive line, the pass game, the Quinn Ewers arm talent, and of course the defensive improvement from what we saw out of Texas last year, despite losing those two NFL defensive tackles. So for Michigan, Arkansas State next week, is that going to be another Fresno State kind of effort, like they win 31-10, 31-6, but don't really look good on offense, or that they've made any corrections? Or do they just annihilate Arkansas State and they still have some hope for the rest of this season? Michigan USC on September 14th, that's coming up, or actually the week after. So Michigan USC, the first Big Ten game, has a much different look today than it did just a few weeks ago. For Texas, it's Texas San Antonio next week, and then they've got their SEC opener in a couple weeks, September 28th against Mississippi State. Texas looks strong. Michigan does not. It was pretty plain to see from the get-go on Saturday. Please subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate you joining us for our instant analysis. Leave those comments and questions below, right here at the Voice of College Football.